Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful crepe paper flowers using supplies from our sponsor Paper Mart. You can find them online at www.papermart.com. Now all you need for this project is some crepe paper, and crepe paper is a little bit different than tissue paper because it's got a texture to it and it stretches and expands, and it's a little bit thicker than party streamers too. But if you don't have crepe paper and you want to experiment with what you do have on hand, go ahead and try that. But I will put links below to the crepe paper at Paper Mart. It is super high quality and very inexpensive. You're also going to need some floral wire, some scissors, a pair of wire cutters, and also some tacky glue, which I have upside down in a jar off camera so that I always have the glue right to the tip. Alright, the first thing you need to do is cut off about a 3-inch piece of crepe paper for the main part of your flower. So the striation in this paper is going this way, so I'm going to cut this way, and when I make my petals, it's going to make it so I can open them up and spread them out to get some really good sculpting and body. So I'm cutting about 3 inches here off the end of my paper. Okay, and then what we're going to do is fold this in half twice. So we're going to have like kind of 4, so we're going to be able to cut 4 petals out at a time basically. And you can use whatever colors you like, and we're going to make a magnolia, but you can make your petals however you like, in different shapes, and get all different kinds of flowers. So keep that in mind as you're creating. So what I'm doing here is just kind of making a fat rounded petal. Now here's the fold on the bottom. I'm just going to cut through that. Okay, so I have 4 petals right there. Now I'm turning my paper around, and I'm going to get 2 petals from here. So I have kind of a big petal, a medium petal, and a small petal. And this will give us a nice full flower. And you can see that you don't really need to have a template for this. You can totally just kind of eyeball it. And these are just office supply scissors. They're pretty strong. I wouldn't use like, you know, really dainty scissors for this. Make sure you have something with a little bit of strength to it. Okay, so now to shape our petals, what you want to do is simply just kind of stretch them apart in the middle, and see, it gives it that beautiful flower petal. Just do that to all of your petals, and I like to separate them by size. So I've got my medium-sized petals here, my small petals here in this pile, and this is just something you can't really do with crepe paper. Party streamers would tear, so this by the roll of crepe paper is much more durable and will allow for this. See how it almost doubles in size when you stretch it? Okay, now we're going to make the center for our flower. So what I'm going to do here on this orange paper, I'm going to cut a strip that's about 10 inches long, but I'm going to taper it. So I'm going to start at about, I would say 3/4 of an inch and taper it down to about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm kind of cutting a really long triangle, kind of like if we were like making paper beads. There we go. Cut that off. And we're going to cut a piece of floral wire that's about 1 foot long, and fold this in half. Alright, and we're going to attach the center, we're going to make the center right around our floral wire. And floral wire is also available at Paper Mart, and I'm using the green colored wire. You're going to be covering it up, so if you don't have green wire, don't worry about it. Okay, so I've stretched out my strip, and look, it like doubled in length. And we're going to use some tacky glue and put a stripe of glue all the way down our strip of paper here. And if you don't, I've actually used lots of different glues. I really like the tacky glue because it grabs so quickly. I also found that the wood glue from Harbor Freight is almost identical to the tacky glue. I'm not sure if it's any cheaper, but you know, it's an option if you have that around but you don't have tacky glue. Go ahead and try that because it works just as well. You don't need a ton. Now what I'm going to do is actually slide the thick end of my paper through the bend, right next to the bend in my wire. Just like that, and fold it over. And it's going to grab it almost instantly. And then I'm simply going to wrap this strip around, and it's going to secure it really well. The nice thing about crepe paper is that it glues really quickly. We have 3 feet on the snow on the ground right now, so I am looking forward to displaying my crepe paper flowers in a vase on my table so I can be reminded that spring will eventually return. I have been having the cabin fever. I don't know if it's because I had that cold or what, just feeling very cooped up lately. So these beautiful flowers should help. They're also great for decorating for Easter or putting on May baskets if you do that, which is a fun custom in the United States anyway. I don't know if they do it anywhere else, but you know, there's lots of great uses for these beautiful flowers. Even for like weddings, you can make up a bunch of these ahead of time for decorations, and they'll definitely keep. So that's nice. You can, you know, you're spending your time on something that's going to keep. So now we have this center. It's kind of like, it's a nice beefy center for a magnolia. So for the petals, I like to do all my gluing at once. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my smallest petals, which are right here. Just kind of lay them out. And I'm going to put some glue. You got to determine what the top and the bottom is. And go ahead and put glue along the bottom edge of your petal. You don't need to, you want to go all the way across, but you don't need to have a ton. Tacky glue does dry clear, so if you get a little much, don't worry about it. And then we're going to glue it right to the wire, pretty much on the bottom. So some of the glue is going to stick to the center, but we're really just trying to get that kind of on the bottom. Now you can see if you did a big petal like that, you made it a little bit larger, you could do a calla lily like that. So, you know, lots of variety of flowers that you can get just by changing the shape of the petals or the size of the petals. So totally be creative and reproduce your favorite flower in crepe paper. It's so pretty and so easy. And economical too. All right, I love the type of crafts that you don't need to have a ton of supplies for. You don't need to spend a lot of money. And crepe paper is one of those staple supplies that you'll find that you use for lots of different things. All right, so that's what our first layer of petals looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and prepare these other petals. I'm just going to line them up and glue them. I'm going to do the middle-sized ones and the large ones. Get them glued all at once. All right, we got glue on all of our petals. We're going to pick up our flower again, and we're going to add the medium-sized petals around. And we're just, again, wrapping it around and gluing, just securing it at the bottom. And you can pull out the petals a bit as you go to make sure that they're, you know, shaping. It's a very structural, sculptable paper. Oops, that's a large one. We want to stick with the middle ones first. Keep going and sticking as you go. I love how crepe paper actually looks like flower petals, that same texture. You do daffodils. And then finally, we're going to go around with our larger petals. Just make sure you give it a good pinch where it glues onto the stem. It's mostly really paper on paper gluing. And just try to keep your petals balanced around. And there, we get a pretty flower. I almost let it dry a little bit before I shape it too much, just to make sure my petals are stuck on there really good. All right, now we need to make the stem and the leaves. So what I'm going to do here is actually just give my stem a little twist so the wires don't separate on me. Doesn't have to be a very tight twist. Just twist it down, and if you want to shorten it, you can. I like a nice long stem because then you can put it in a vase. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be wrapping the stem with crepe paper and making some little crepe paper leaves. So what I have here is a piece of green that I've already cut, so I'm going to fold it in quarters. I'll try to line it up so I can not waste any. Now we got our striation going this way, so we're going to cut our leaf like that so that we can expand it like we did our petals. There we go, we got 4 leaves there. And now for the stem, we're going to need some strips, so I'm turning the paper and I'm going to cut 2 1/2-inch wide strips off there. Okay, we'll set that aside because there's still some good paper on there. We don't want to throw that away. We're going to shape our leaves just like we did our petals, just by stretching the middles out. Gives it a beautiful cup shape. If you get any weird pieces, sometimes that happens when you're folding your paper and cutting, go ahead and snip it. And again, we're going to put glue on the bottom of each of our leaves, and they're pretty symmetrical, so it doesn't really matter what you count as the bottom or the top. Here we go. And we're also going to unravel our strips and put a bead of glue down them. And we're stretching them. We probably won't need 2 full strips, but it's nice to have them. Go ahead, and you don't need that much. The reason I like the thick and tacky glue as opposed to just a regular white glue is that it doesn't absorb into the paper. It sits on top of it because it's the particles of the glue are a little bit thicker. So that's just why that. You may have some plain white glue that is quite thick, and then by all means go ahead and try that. Alright, so now I am just going to start here at the top where the overlapping the white crepe paper where it's glued to the stem, and then I'm just going to start wrapping and kind of twisting it and wrapping it as I go. I'm going to try not to get into that. In fact, I'm going to move these over so I don't get into that glue. I don't want my leaves to get stuck on me as I'm going. Now if it does feel a little awkward to have the glue on as you go, you could just, you know, squirt on the glue as you're working down, but I don't like to stop. I like to keep on going. You want to pinch it up close to the stem as you're working for a nice neat appearance. You can spread out the paper a little bit more. I find it does look a little bit neater if you kind of don't try to stretch it too much as you're going, and if you pinch it as you go. See, one will almost do it. It will do it if you have their stem a little bit shorter. Go ahead and add them. I'm just going to tear that little end off because I didn't have any glue on that part. You could just see how hard it was to tear. You could see how it's a little bit more, that the crepe paper is a little bit stronger than like a party streamer or a tissue paper. Tissue paper would probably want to tear while you're doing this, and the glue would probably make it pretty soggy. I recommend that if you are going to order crepe paper, that you order it in a variety of colors. You can get the exact color you want pretty much, which is something you can't get in party streamers, so that's really nice. But you know, it's nice to have on hand for different projects, so I would go ahead and get a bunch of different colors. Now we want to add these little leaves that we made. So with the glue down towards the stem, you're just gonna press it in, because like I said before, it glues really easily, especially paper to paper. So I'm going to put all these 4 leaves that I made right on there. Oh, maybe, well, you could do 3. If it seems like 3 fits better, do 3. I think 3 actually does work better. I was going to put 4 on like I did on my other ones, but well, maybe I'll sneak that 4th one in there if I put those 2 a little closer. There we go. Alright, and there you can see the bottom of the flower, and there's the top, and I'll show you this one that's already done. So you can spread your leaves out and shape them a little bit more after it's dry. I just think it's so pretty. The stem also stiffens up quite a bit too once it's dry. And feel free to experiment with other colors. Like this almost looks like a crocus. I probably wouldn't put quite so many petals on there for a crocus, but you know, if you wanted to do yellow and purple crocuses, that would be so pretty. And I'm going to show you about varying the leaves. You know, if you do different shaped leaves, you can make peonies or whatever flower that you prefer. I want to thank you so much for watching today. Please check out our sponsor, Paper Mart. You can find them online at www.papermart.com, where we make you look even better. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting!